Picture this. A man in a $10,000 tuxedo, standing alone in a parking lot, watching the woman he loves disappear through golden doors that just slammed in his face. His name is Marcus Chun. He's worth $2.3 billion. And tonight, none of it mattered. 48 hours earlier, Marcus had everything. A revolutionary company changing healthcare. A stunning fiancée who made him believe love could bridge any divide. A future so bright it hurt to look at directly. Now, he was questioning if love was enough when the world refused to see past the color of his skin. What happens next will challenge everything you believe about wealth, power, and the price of standing up for what's right. Have you ever watched someone you love make a choice that changed everything? Drop a comment and let me know, because this story is about to take you somewhere unexpected. Marcus Chun wasn't born into privilege. He grew up in a cramped apartment in Atlanta's Mechanicsville neighborhood, raised by a single mother who worked double shifts as a nurse. When Marcus was 17, she died from preventable illness, lost in a healthcare system that failed people like her. That pain became his purpose. By 25, he'd built a revolutionary AI platform that predicted health complications before they became critical. By 30, he was on Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. By 34, his company was valued at over $3 billion, and he'd personally donated tens of millions to community hospitals across the country. But success hadn't erased a memory of where he came from, or the reality of what he looked like. Then he met Elena Whitmore. She walked into his life at a gallery opening 18 months ago, and everything shifted. Elena was different from the women who threw themselves at him because of his bank account. She was an art curator with genuine passion, quick wit, and a laugh that made him forget about spreadsheets and board meetings. She came from old Georgia money, the kind of family whose name was carved into buildings downtown. Her father sat on half a dozen boards. Her mother chaired charity committees. They lived in a world of country clubs, debutante balls, and unspoken rules about who belonged. When Marcus proposed 3 months ago, Elena said yes without hesitation. But her family's response was complicated. Polite smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Questions about cultural differences and taking things slow. Elena brushed it off as generational disconnect. Marcus wanted to believe her. Tonight was supposed to change everything. The Magnolia Country Club Charity Gala. Black tie. 500 of Atlanta's elite. And Marcus's $5 million donation to children's hospitals. The very cause inspired by his mother's death. Surely that would be enough. The Bentley Continental GT purred to a stop beneath the club's illuminated entrance. Marcus glanced over at Elena, radiant in an emerald gown that made her eyes shimmer like sea glass. "You're staring," she said, smiling. "Can you blame me?" He reached over, adjusting the diamond necklace at her throat, the one he'd given her when she said yes. "Nervous?" "A little," Elena admitted. "But they're going to love you, Marcus." How could they not? He wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe his accomplishments spoke louder than outdated prejudices. But as the valet approached, a young white man who looked past Marcus to address Elena, that familiar knot formed in his stomach. "Good evening, Miss Whitmore," the valet said warmly. "Good evening, James." Elena handed over the keys, then laced her fingers through Marcus's. Ready? They walked toward the entrance, past topiaries shaped like swans and fountains that probably cost more than most people's houses. Other guests milled about, women in glittering gowns, men in perfectly tailored tuxedos. A few heads turned as they passed. Marcus felt their stares. He always did. An older woman in pearls did a visible double-take, her eyes traveling from Marcus's face to his hand intertwined with Elena's, then quickly away. Elena either didn't notice or pretended not to. "This is it," she whispered as they approached the grand entrance, its doors flanked by marble columns. "Our night. If you've ever felt like you didn't belong somewhere, hit that like button, because what happens at this door will hit close to home." The doorman stepped forward. "Miss Whitmore." The doorman, a silver-haired man named Richard who'd worked at the club for 30 years, broke into a practiced smile. "Welcome. Your family's already inside." "Thank you, Richard." Elena squeezed Marcus's hand. "This is my fiancé, Marcus Chun." The smile didn't just fade, it evaporated. Richard's eyes swept over Marcus with the kind of assessment that had nothing to do with his Hermes tie or his custom Tom Ford tuxedo. It was the look Marcus had learned to recognize by the time he was 12. The look that saw his skin before his humanity. "I'm sorry, sir," Richard said, his tone shifting from warm to glacial. "This is a members-only event." Marcus felt Elena stiffen beside him. "Richard, I just told you. He's with me. This is Marcus-chan." A flicker of recognition crossed Richard's face. He'd obviously heard the name, probably seen it on the donation list. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. "I'm afraid there's been some kind of mistake. This event has very strict invitation and dress code policies." "Dress code?" Elena's voice rose. "He's wearing Tom Ford." "Miss Whitmore," Richard said quietly, glancing at the crowd forming behind them. "Perhaps we could discuss this inside. You're welcome to come in, and we can sort out the confusion." The word hung in the air like smoke. Confusion. As if Marcus's presence was a problem to be solved. "There's no confusion," Elena said, her face flushing. "He donated $5 million to tonight's cause. His name is on the program." Richard's jaw tightened. "Perhaps there's a delivery in trance." "Enough." Marcus's voice was calm, but Elena heard the fracture underneath. "It's fine. Let's go." "No, it's not fine." Elena turned to the crowd. Several faces she recognized, her parents' friends, business associates, people she'd known her entire life. "This is insane. Someone tell him." But no one spoke. They just watched, drinks in hand, like this was dinner theater. Marcus gently pulled his hand from Elena's. "I'll wait in the car." Richard stepped aside, creating a clear path for Elena. "Miss Whitmore, your father's expecting you." And there it was, the moment that would define everything. Elena stood at the threshold, tears forming in her eyes. Behind her, the man she claimed to love. Ahead, the world she'd always known. The choice shouldn't have been difficult, but her feet wouldn't move. Marcus didn't look back. He couldn't. If he saw Elena walk through those doors without him, something inside would shatter permanently. He made it to the Bentley, slid into the driver's seat, and sat in the dark. Through the windshield, he could see the gala in full swing. Silhouettes moved past floor-to-ceiling windows. Laughter and music spilled into the night. His phone buzzed. A text from Thomas Whitmore, Elena's father. "Marcus, Richard is old-fashioned. These things take time. Be patient with the transition. We'll work it out." Transition. As if Marcus's humanity needed a grace period. He started typing a response to Elena. "I love you, but I can't." He deleted it. Tried again. Deleted it again. What was there to say? That he was tired? Tired of his bank account not matching. He started typing a response to Elena. "I love you, but I can't." He deleted it. Tried again. Deleted it again. What was there to say? That he was tired? Tired of his bank account not matching. Tired of his achievements being invisible. Tired of being the exception that proved the rule, but never quite enough to break it. Inside the club, Elena moved through the marble foyer in a daze. She found her father near the bar, laughing with the club president. "Daddy, what just happened?" Thomas Whitmore's smile faded. "Sweetheart, it's complicated." Complicated? Richard humiliated him. Richard is from a different generation. These institutions have traditions. Traditions? Elena's voice cracked. "You knew this might happen, didn't you? You hoped I'd come alone." Her father's silence was confirmation. Elena looked around the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers. Imported champagne. Women dripping in diamonds. Men whose portfolios could fund small nations. This was her world. These were her people. And they'd just shown her exactly who they were. She thought about Marcus sitting alone in that car. Thought about the speech he prepared about his mother's death. About why he donated $5 million. Thought about how he'd been excited. Actually excited. To finally be accepted into her life. What would you do in Elena's position? Comment below. Family or love? Elena set down her clutch. Straightened her shoulders. And walked straight to the stage. The band was mid-song when Elena grabbed the microphone from the startled singer. Feedback squealed through the speakers. 300 heads turned. "Good evening," Elena said, her voice shaking but clear. "For those who don't know me, I'm Elena Whitmore. My family has been members of this club for 4 generations." Her father started moving toward the stage. She held up a hand. "Tonight, my fiancé, Marcus Chin, the man whose $5 million donation made this event possible, was denied entry to this club. Not because he wasn't dressed appropriately, not because he didn't belong, but because a doorman decided he didn't look like he belonged." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some people had the decency to look uncomfortable. Others exchanged glances that confirmed they'd known exactly what was happening. I stood at that door. Elena continued, tears streaming now, and I hesitated. I actually hesitated. And I will regret that hesitation for the rest of my life. She pulled off her grandmother's bracelet, a family heirloom worth 6 figures, and set it on the piano. "Consider this my resignation. I'm returning my family's membership, because if this club can't see his worth, can't see his brilliance, his generosity, his humanity, then I want no part of it." Elena, her father's voice was strangled. "I'm done, Daddy. Done pretending this is okay. Done making excuses. Done being comfortable while the man I love is treated like he's invisible." She dropped the microphone. It hit the stage with a hollow thump. The walk to the parking lot felt like miles. Her heel broke on the marble steps. She didn't care. She yanked off both shoes and ran. Marcus was still in the car, head back against a headrest, eyes closed. Elena tapped on the window. He looked up, saw her tear-stained face, her ruined dress, her bare feet. Slowly, he unlocked the door. Elena slid into the passenger seat. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I'm so sorry," she finally whispered. "I should have walked out immediately." "Why didn't you?" No accusation in his voice, just exhaustion. "Because I was scared. Scared of losing my family, my world. But then I realized, without you, I don't have a world worth keeping. You shouldn't have to choose." "No, I shouldn't. But when the choice is between standing up for what's right and staying comfortable, there's only one answer." Marcus reached for her hand. His thumb traced her knuckles. "You really walked out?" "I did more than walk out. I burned it down." For the first time that night, Marcus smiled. "Tell me everything." By morning, Elena's speech was viral. Someone had recorded the whole thing, and it spread like wildfire across social media. Hashtag Magnolia Club discrimination trended nationally. News outlets picked up the story. Corporate sponsors started pulling funding from the club. Richard, the doorman, was terminated. The club president resigned under pressure. Elena's family was in crisis. Her father furious, her mother crying, their social circle divided. But Elena's younger sister, Madison, called her that afternoon. "I've wanted to say something for years," Madison admitted. "Thank you for finally having the courage." Marcus withdrew his $5 million donation and redirected it to 3 community hospitals in underserved neighborhoods. He released a statement, gracious, measured, but firm. "I don't need an institution's approval to know my worth. But I hope this moment sparks conversation about who gets a seat at which tables and why." The Magnolia Club eventually issued a formal apology and invited Marcus to join their diversity reform board. Marcus declined in a 2-sentence email. "Some tables aren't worth a seat. I'd rather build my own." The ballroom Marcus rented held 800 people, double the capacity of the Magnolia Club. But this wasn't about competition. It was about vision. Instead of marble columns, there were screens showing the faces of children whose lives had been saved by early health intervention. Instead of champagne fountains, there were stations where guests could learn about health equity. Instead of a velvet rope, there were open doors. Elena stood beside Marcus as he gave the opening speech. She'd lost friends, strained family relationships, and walked away from the only world she'd known. But when Marcus reached for her hand, she knew she'd made the right choice. They raised $9.2 million that night, 3 times what the Magnolia Club event had generated. Money that would change lives. Money that would prove a point. Money that showed what was possible when you stopped asking for permission to belong. Marcus and Elena's story teaches us something profound about love, courage, and the cost of integrity. First, love requires courage. Real, bone-deep courage. Elena had to risk everything she'd ever known, her family's approval, her social standing, her comfortable life, to stand beside Marcus. And here's the truth. That's what love demands. Not grand gestures and easy moments, but backbone when the world is watching. Second, actions speak infinitely louder than words. Elena could have apologized privately, could have sent flowers, made promises, asked for time. Instead, she made a public stand. She burned bridges she could never rebuild. That's what changed everything. Third, your worth isn't determined by others' acceptance. Marcus didn't need the Magnolia Club's approval. He never did. His value, his brilliance, his compassion, his success existed independent of their recognition. The rejection hurt, yes, but it didn't diminish him. Fourth, privilege means nothing without principles. Elena was born into a world most people never glimpse. She could have stayed, could have convinced herself that quiet disagreement was enough. Instead, she gave it all up. That's integrity. Finally, change happens when good people refuse to stay silent. One speech, one woman, one moment of courage, and suddenly, conversations that had been whispered were shouted. Policies that had been accepted were challenged. These moments happen every day. In boardrooms where qualified people are overlooked. In restaurants where service changes based on appearance. In neighborhoods where some people are assumed to belong and others assumed to be threats. But stories like Marcus and Elena's remind us that love and integrity can overcome prejudice. Not easily, not without cost, but completely. Today, Marcus and Elena are married. They're building a life that honors both of their stories. His roots, her evolution. They use their combined influence to fund programs that break down barriers others had to fight. Elena's relationship with her family is complicated. Her father still doesn't fully understand her choice, but he's trying. Her mother sends texts on holidays. Madison is Elena's maid of honor. The Magnolia Club implemented diversity reforms, though Marcus and Elena remain uninterested in membership. Some doors close permanently. That's okay. They're too busy building new ones. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about grand gestures in perfect moments. They're about the quiet choice to stand beside someone when the world tells you to walk away. They're about looking at everything you've ever known and saying, "This isn't enough." He is. What did you take away from Marcus and Elena's story? Share your thoughts below. And if you believe in love that fights for what's right, hit that subscribe button. More stories of courage, romance, and transformation coming soon. This is Earthly Tales, reminding you that the best stories are the ones that change us.